Hello, my name is Blake Arbaugh, and welcome to my psychology final project. Sorry if my voice sounds a little stuffed up. I've been going through a sickness the past couple of days, but anyways, the topic I have chosen is motivation and behavior. This is a little bit about me. My name is Blake Arbaugh. I'm a senior at Sandusky High School. I play baseball. Uh, in the photo on the left, you can see me singing the national anthem at a sporting event at my school. And next fall, I plan to attend SVSU to pursue a master's degree in the business field and hope to one day own my own business. These are the three main talking points I want to talk about during my slideshow, including basic definitions, fun facts, and examples. The first definition I want to talk about is behavior, and specifically the behaviorism theory. The behaviorism theory is a psychological theory about behavior. The theory states that the human behavior is shaped by the environment they are put into. For example, a girl who grew up with three older brothers is more likely to be less feminine than a girl who has three older sisters, for example. And then this is a little more about the behaviorism theory as well as another theory that was proposed. So the origin of the behaviorism theory is John B. Watson. He was an American. He grew up in Chicago, and he developed this theory in the 1920s at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland. The other theory, developed by B.F. Skinner, is called the stimulus response theory. This theory states that when a person is exposed to a stimulus, it can cause a response which will then be reinforced with either a reward or defended, or there's various different ways that can be achieved. And so I have my first question to the audience. Which behavioral theory would you prefer? You on one hand, you got the behaviorism theory, where the behavior is influenced by the environment or that they are put into that isn't really controllable, or Skinner's theory, where once they are given an issue or something to react off, the brain reacts off of that and makes decisions off of that. So which one would you guys pick? And the next part of my slideshow I want to talk about is motivation. Motivation drives from drives and incentives that our body has, and our body has needs such as food and water. And not having food, water, or shelter can cause a drive, which is something the body needs. However, the drive reduction theory is when our body is deprived of a need for the drive, the need increases. So that means if our body doesn't have food or water, it's going to try extra hard and be extra motivated to get what it needs. An incentive is a positive or negative stimuli that lures us in. This can cause an increase in dopamine levels, and the more incentives there are left unsatisfied, the higher the drive becomes to obtain it. Psychological needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs documents what level of needs or drives that you're capable of achieving. The first level of the pyramid is the basic needs such as food and water. That's a psychological need. And then as you work your way up the pyramid, the requirements are less easy to achieve until you make it to the top of the pyramid, called self-actualization. And that means you're at peace with yourself and that you think you have made it with your life and it cannot get much better. Another question I have towards the audience after looking at the pyramid is which category do you think a majority of the U.S. falls into on the hierarchy of needs? I think a majority personally falls into the love and belonging stage because unfortunately our country has high levels of depression, and I think that a majority would fall into the level before that. And then I have a interesting quote I found from Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher, that says human behavior flows from three main sources: desire, emotion, and knowledge. And this quote made me think about a lot of where I thought that human behavior came from, and I really don't disagree with Plato much on this one. And then here are a couple of fun facts about motivation, memory, and behavior. If you do something for 21 days straight, that will make, and it becomes a habit, and that will mean your day will feel incomplete if you have not achieved that thing. For example, going to the gym. And then another fun fact about memory is hearing one negative thing can negatively impact 5 positive memories. I did not know that before researching this, and that very impacted me to know. So I'm going to try to block the negativity out from now on. And then a final fun fact is about behavior. And this was through a study that showed that people are 45% more likely to return a wallet if a picture of a child is found inside of it. Here are some fun facts about the brain. 95% of decisions are subconscious, meaning they are decisions made based off what the brain had already known. The brain also makes up of 20% of the body's total oxygen and water, or they use 20% of the body's total oxygen and water. And then this one surprised me the most, is that 73% of the brain is made up of water. And then here are a couple of facts about psychologists. Sorry, that didn't format right. But first is John B. Watson, the developer, excuse me, of the theory behaviorism. He won a gold medal from the American Psychological Association for that theory. And then, despite discovering his theory at Johns Hopkins University, he actually studied at the University of Chicago and the University of Furman. The next psychologist is B.F. Skinner, and he published nearly 20 books during his life. He attended the University of Harvard. And then Maslow. Maslow was the oldest of 7 siblings, and he attended Cornell University. Here are a couple of the examples. The stimulus response theory. An example of this can be if you're walking in the woods and see a bear. This is known as a stimulus. This can encourage a sense of danger, that would be the response, and then that would cause you to run, which would be the reinforcement. An experiment can be done to test the stimulus response theory, which is teaching a dog to sit. And this would be the timeline of doing it. So on Monday, you would teach the dog that the treat is the reward. On Tuesday, you would add the sit command into it while giving them the reward and encouraging the dog to sit. And then slowly throughout the week until you get to Friday, you would use less and less human encouragement to teach the dog. And then on Friday, if all goes well, the dog will need no reward, but knows exactly what to do when it hears the code word sit. And that prompts me to ask another audience question. Can you think of a time where you have used the stimulus response theory in your life? And I'm sure that we all have, or whether we've used it or it's happened to us, it's definitely happened. And here's an example of motivation. An example of motivation can be found in Hunger Games. For example, when one in Hunger Games, when they're fighting for survival, survival is a motivation, and then it becomes a need. And this can encourage a fight or flight response where hormones are released by the body when it is threatened for survival, and the body will do whatever it needs to do to survive. This is an interesting chart I found about motivation from employees, and I found that recognition is the most common factor that can influence employees' motivation to work, and that really surprised me. Another example is behavior. There are different types of methods of behaviorism. For this specific example, I will use a method called extinction. And so it's your child throws a tantrum in a store because they knew it would get them a toy, like it usually does. The parent always gave in, and then finally, one day the parent stood up to the child, and despite the tantrums, did not give in. After a couple of trips to the store, the tantrum stopped and the problem was solved. And then this is a chart that I found that many teachers across America use to help students with behavioral problems, and I think this chart would be very good at helping, especially younger students, fix those behavioral problems. And these are my works cited, and thank you for listening to my